Choose Optimism, an excerpt from A Guide for Aging Heroes by Randolph Harrison with Erica Schwarting Harrison. Optimism is essential to achievement, and it is also the foundation of courage and true progress. Nicholas M. Butler. Converting to optimism is an absolute necessity if you want to live a long and healthy life. I was a card-carrying pessimist as a young man. Thankfully, I reformed. Optimism is directly related to improved success socially, mentally, physically, and even vocationally. Ultimately, optimists enjoy far more achievements in life than pessimists. Optimism lowers your chance of developing heart disease by 35% and decreases your likelihood of early death by 14%. Blood sugar, cholesterol, and risks for cancer and infection are all lower in optimists. Beginning in 1930, a fascinating study was conducted involving Catholic nuns. Before taking their final vows, each of the 180 sisters was asked to write a short essay about her life, including important events and what brought her to join the convent. 70 years later, researchers used a coding system to classify each essay as either optimistic or pessimistic. Amazingly, the nuns who had written optimistic essays 70 years earlier lived nearly 10 years longer than the other sisters in the study. As a young, depressive pessimist, I could point out incidents from history, current events, and my own life to support my negative outlook. Unfortunately, such evidence is so abundant that the average pessimist will claim to be a realist rather than a pessimist. Make no mistake, neither optimists nor pessimists are realists. Reality is objective. It exists independent of the mind. If I am standing behind a table that holds 2 bowls of ice cream and I say, I have 2 bowls of ice cream in front of me, that is a statement of objective fact. My statement reflects reality. The fact that the bowls of ice cream are in front of me does not depend on my feelings or beliefs to be true. However, if I say chocolate ice cream is better than vanilla, I am making a subjective statement. This subjective statement depends on my thoughts and feelings about chocolate and vanilla. Optimism and pessimism are subjective. They rely on opinion, not on external reality. Have you ever wondered why the news in the media has more negative stories than positive ones? Well, it turns out that human beings gravitate to what is called a negative bias. That is, we pay more attention to negative than positive information. This was once an adaptive trait. It helped early people survive. Adverse events were more likely to be life-threatening for primitive humans thousands of years ago. The cave people who paid attention and learned from adverse events were more likely to stay alive long enough to have children and pass on their genes. We evolved to tune into negative situations. No wonder pessimism abounds. The good news is that optimism is a conscious choice. It's a habit. I am living proof that a pessimist can be converted. As a young pessimist, I had a negative view of humanity. As an old optimist, I realized that the number of times people have been kind and supportive in my life dwarfs the number of times people have been unpleasant. Have people been more positive than negative in your life? If not, can you identify the role you might have played in your negative experiences? Do negative situations seem to happen more in your life than in other people's lives? There was a fun experiment I used to do with my classes. I would ask them to look around the room and take note of everything that was the color blue. I gave them a minute to look around, and then I would ask everyone to close their eyes and try to recall everything in the room that was yellow. Everyone always laughed at how difficult it was to remember the yellow items. The lesson was that we find what we're looking for. Look for the positive in the world, and you will find that the world is positive. Look for the negative in the world, and you will surely find that the world is negative. A North American folk tale tells of a traveler who happened upon an old woman washing clothes in a stream. The traveler stopped and asked her, "What are the people in the next town like?" The old woman looked up from her work and said, "Well, what were the people like in your town?" The traveler responded, "Oh, they're just awful. Every one of them was a lying, selfish jackass." "Oh, I'm afraid you're going to find the same is true in the next town," said the old woman, shaking her head. The disappointed traveler went on his way, mumbling underneath his breath. A few minutes later, another traveler approached the old woman and asked the same question. "Hey, what are the people like in the next town?" Again, the old woman replied with a question. "What were the people like in your town?" "They were wonderful. Some of the finest people you could ever hope to meet," answered the second traveler. The old woman grinned. "I'm pleased to say that you will find the same kind of people in the next town." The wise old woman demonstrated an innate understanding of what J.W. Goethe was communicating when he said, "A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart." If you, like me, find the people in your life to be more positive than negative, can you generalize that perception to people everywhere? Humans naturally tend to divide others into two groups. Us, people like me, and them, people not like me. We tend to judge people we consider us favorably and people we view as them unfavorably. However, research disputes assumptions drawn from this us and them mentality. It shows that human beings are pretty much the same the world over. We all want better lives for ourselves, our friends, and our families. All of us want to be loved and appreciated, and we all want to be safe and successful. Choosing optimism may be easier than you think. Data from across the globe shows the same pattern. Life satisfaction decreases from childhood until around midlife, then steadily increases from midlife to death. The reverse pattern happens with stress. Stress rises from childhood to middle age and decreases from middle age to death. Wherever you are on the number line of life, you have the opportunity to choose optimism over pessimism.